Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu and the Insider crew.
Welcome everyone to episode 24. I'm here with Manny Albin, PCA's technical director, and new to the table, Melanie Williams, our national events manager. Welcome, Melanie.
I'm happy to be here.
So you're here because we're going to be talking about some of our events, and you're on a lot of our escapades anyway, so I'm sure you won't have any problem joining in on the conversation here.
No.
So as normal, people will be hearing this after Monterey Car Week, after Works Reunion, so we're going to have to juggle giving you some insight and then giving you a summary of all of it on the next podcast. But before we get into that, let's talk about what have we done since the last podcast. I'll let you start, Manny.
Well, I got in on Saturday morning to my house at 3 a.m. We went to Detroit Thursday night, and then Friday we spent the whole day driving the GT3 and GT3 Touring.
Oh my.
Yes, that was Damon and I went out there. We met with Rob and a photographer who we originally got the cars because the photographer was going to need both cars to shoot for a panorama story that had been written. So Rob said, hey, we got 2 cars all day. We got budget. Let's go out to Detroit and film a video while after the shooting gets done.
That's a dream. Oh, so I'm seeing the photos of the cars.
So you got what struck me was the fact that I'm with 3 guys with 30-inch waist who immediately say hey, we can just skip lunch and we'll just shoot through the whole thing. And of course, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, do I not have a vote in this? Lunch is the best part of the
trip,
the experience. So I did not get to eat until like 7 or 8 o'clock at the airport.
So did they get hangry, Manny, for the video interviews?
Luckily, since we stayed at a Hampton Inn, we got breakfast. But had I known that was going to be my last meal, I might have gotten a few extra mini omelets than thinking I was going to eat lunch in 4 hours. I don't want to eat too much. But yeah, we had a beautiful day. We drove about an hour away to Troy, Michigan, and did some photography for 2 hours. So,
well, what a treat it is to have, access to, thank you to Porsche Cars North America, access to 2 GT3s, but not only have access, because we do press trips and such, but to have access to 2 cars all by yourself where you're not sharing with other journalists and you can kind of stage them. And I'm assuming you guys made up your own route of where to go.
Luckily, the photographer used it this is one of his usual places. So he gave us advice on where we could probably do videos for nearby roads, which worked out really well. And he liked the fact having us there because he could do car-to-car shooting. Mm-hmm. That's what, in fact, I'm going to write an article. I took a lot of photos from the viewpoint of behind the scenes of a panorama video shoot, photography and video shoot. And you get to see that when you're shooting for pano, you're moving at 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Nothing glorious about that. So Rob and I were doing our best to look like it was some action shots when really we were going 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You set the shutter speed at a certain, setting, and you only need a little bit of movement to create that blur. So it looks like it's action fast, but you're...
Yes, exactly. So after we got done that, he was very happy with us. He said, it's the quickest photo shoot I've ever done because you guys did exactly what I said. And you didn't go any faster or any slower. You stuck to that speed. And so he got done a little earlier, and then we had a lot more time to
All right, so let's cut to the chase. What was it like to compare back-to-back a Touring versus a GT3 standard?
So, I took a couple magazines, since we get them here at the office, that had reviewed the GT3 Touring and had reviewed the GT3, but not back-to-back, separately. Mm-hmm. And so the impression you get is that the GT3 Touring is the more comfortable car.
Right.
Touring equals comfort. And the reality is they're the same car, minus the wing.
So not a softer ride?
No, so, they have the drive modes. You can go from normal to sport to Trek. And that changes the personality of the car. Just being called a touring model doesn't change it. So yeah, we both agreed that, and Rob Sass also drove it, the editor of Panorama. There wasn't a whole lot of different. No, I mean, your mirror, you got to see the wing in the rear view mirror if you like that, or if you don't, you get the touring.
I noticed that the Touring looked like it was a manual, and the GT3 was a PDK car.
Opposite. The Touring was a PDK.
Oh, Touring was PDK.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
The stick shift looks like a manual.
Oh, okay.
And I really liked being able to shift up and down with the stick, because I guess I'm used to driving my my manual
that is
transmission.
a PDK. But it looks so much like a stick.
It does.
It does. It looks a lot better than the little bronze shaver that
Right.
Carreras have. And plus,
So-
you go up or down gears with it really easy.
And then in the standard GT3, you actually have
That was a six-speed manual.
Six-speed manual. Okay, so a 6-speed versus a 7-speed.
So
box.
the 6-speed is a dedicated gearbox, meaning it's not a PDK that they turn into a manual. And I've never been a big fan of the PDK turned into a manual. It feels very disconnected to me. The 6-speed definitely feels closer to what like my 964 feels like. It was a little clunky from first to second, and we weren't sure. It seemed to get better after the transmission oil got warmed up, but it wasn't. I wasn't sure if it was something I had to get used to after a while, which I never did, or it was just clunky. At Cars and Coffee the next day, somebody we know is very familiar with these cars and owns one. He said that a lot of times they have air in the system, and you got to bleed it out of the hydraulic fluid or transmission fluid to get the first or second to feel a lot better with the shifting.
So I never noticed this before, but now that you have these two cars side by side, the front nose area of the GT3 looks like it's unpainted.
Yep.
And the Touring, it is painted. It looks phenomenal when it's painted.
So the big difference is between the car, and we're doing a video which will illustrate this even more so. This Touring did not have, it had the black trim around the windows, but standard is the silver trim, which you can't get on the regular GT3. So that stands out, and I think it would have looked nicer had it been on this Genetian blue car. Of course, as you pointed out, the front fascia is painted, which you can't get that on the regular GT3. Inside of it, then I think I had some inside photos. There's a textured material on the Touring that actually reminds me of the 914 and early 911s, almost like that basket weave, which you can't get on the regular GT3. And of course, we're not big fans of Alcantara race techs. On the Touring,
Leather.
it's all leather,
Yes.
which was very nice on the GT3 Touring. That the GT3 had just the Alcantara, like in the center seat, that's cloth. On the Touring, on the
That's the race techs on
GT3
the
is race
GT3.
techs, and you see it's the steering wheel has.
But the bolsters and everything were the same? It was the same seat?
Yep, same seat. It was
Okay.
a Comfort 14-way seat, which is a very comfortable seat. By no means is it a seat you're going to get flopped around. But if you're going to do a lot of track, sport bucket all the way, without a doubt.
Now, did both cars have nose lift? Did you have to use that, or?
I didn't check that. We didn't have to use. I knew one of the cars I looked at. I saw the button for the nose lift.
But you guys were on good roads. You didn't have to worry
we
about
never
that.
had to.
Nice.
They both scream.
I was supposed to say exhaust tone between the two?
When I would come back and then Damon would hop in the car and he would go out for 15 minutes and I told him, I said, I could tell when you're 5 minutes away because I could hear the exhaust screaming through the trees as you were coming.
Nice.
And it's wild watching the needle go all the way to 9,000 RPM. It's very intoxicating.
Cool. Well, I look forward to you guys did full videos, and it's going to also be a feature in Panorama.
So it's going to be, I think the Touring is going to be, or one of the two is going to be featured in Panorama.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're doing both, but we're going to do a video on both of them back to back to see what are the differences about the two. And it's really, I think it really comes down to what you prefer, or if you're planning to do a lot of track events, because I don't think that, I doubt if the Wing does anything to help you out on street driving. There may be people that say I can feel it, but I would question if that's just seat of the pants feeling or real.
For the
real
street,
world.
I think, like I love wings. Like a lot of my cars have wings. I love that look, but someone that wants to be more discreet, use it more as a daily driver, or take it to the office, or go to see clients and stuff like that. I can see where a touring is compelling because, if you're not an enthusiast, it does still look sporty like any 911, but it doesn't look so racerish as a GT3. Me personally, if I was going to do it, I would still go for the GT3.
And it's a different chassis than the 991, and I think they've done a great job of making a very livable car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the ride was not miserable at all in the streets, and we did some questionable roads in Detroit, and it's switched on the steering wheel to normal, and it became quieter and a little softer. Not it would be their soft setting is probably a track setting on a regular Carrera RS,
Mm-hmm.
not RS,
but livable.
Carrera S. Yeah, very livable. Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Cool. Well, I stuck around this weekend, and kind of Loanne's out of town, driving my daughter back to school. So I took the opportunity, did a lot of local cars and coffee, and I totally forgot that there was an autocross, a Chesapeake autocross on Sunday. So I woke up. No, actually, before I went to bed on Sunday, I'm like, I'm missing something. And we were talking about this earlier, how I'm forgetting things. But I was like, oh, there's an autocross on Sunday. But that's okay. I just did the local cars and coffee. But it was beautiful weather here in Maryland. And every cars and coffee I went to this weekend was packed.
How many did you go to?
I went to 3. So I went to Hunt Valley Saturday morning, packed. There's probably like 500 cars there easily. I got there at like
1,200.
There was 1,200 cars? No way.
Wow.
Yeah, so Will said that sometimes a parking spot will serve 3 cars.
Yeah.
So from to like 11 o'clock.
I see what you're saying. The roll
There was
up.
1,200 cars that came in and out.
Wow.
That's
crazy. That's amazing. I mean, it felt like it. It was tons of cars. And I saw a lot of old friends I hadn't seen in a while because I haven't been up there. So that was Saturday morning. Then Sunday, I went to my Cars and Coffee in Burtonsville that I've been going to since high school. And actually, I didn't even take a car. I took my V-Rod. It was such a beautiful day. I was like, you know what? I'm taking the V-Rod. So I took the V-Rod, still a quote-unquote Porsche, but only 2 wheels. And then last night, there's this thing called Cars and Poke, like tuna.
Yep.
And it doesn't start until 5. It goes from 5 to 8. And it's amazing the demographic shift from an early morning Cars and Coffee to a 5 to 8 o'clock Cars and Poke. And
So you must be really the old guy there.
yeah, so Peter and I and Gregory, we went out, and Peter kept saying, where are all these high school kids coming from? I'm Peter, they're not high school. We're just old. They're probably, young professionals. There were some high school kids, but I would say the majority of them were in their 20s and early 30s and driving what you would think. I mean, I believe I brought the 996 to represent, and of course got front parking. That was kind of cool. But I believe I was the only Porsche there. There was maybe another Audi S4, but there were tons of Mustangs, tons of.
Is this the group that the police are targeting?
Yes. So in the last podcast,
Columbia, Howard County.
So in the last podcast, we were talking about how my local neighborhood, got all upset about cars using River Hill as a racetrack, which some are, but most are not. But this time when you rolled into the Cars and Coffee, they actually said, please keep it quiet. So that was so the owner of the restaurant and of this Cars and Coffee actually went to that meeting, thankfully, to talk some sense to people that not all car people are bad. And so the neighbors are just like, it just gets loud, and that's just annoying. And I totally get like,
So no BMW or Lamborghini guys allowed.
Okay, so there were loud cars, but I was impressed. Most everyone, kept it quiet and didn't rev to the moon. Our buddy Paolo with the Lamborghini, he had to rev, but it's not his fault. Like the way that clutch is, for him to go into a space, he has to rev it or it cuts out. And so it was just funny that it was the Lambo that was loud. But even the Mustang folks, the Mustang and the Charger folks kept it quiet. So it was all good. Had a nice evening, good food, but yeah, it's cool to see. And I kept saying to Peter, I was like, see look at these young people that have a huge passion for a car. They're going to be in our club. They're going to be doing PCA stuff down the road.
But the police weren't there?
Police was there when I left. Not when I first got there, but they were just hanging out. They're all cool. Howard County Police is cool. Again, The bad actors, absolutely get them and throw the book at them. But for everybody else that's just having fun, let us have fun. Let's see. I know Damon, like I said, went to the autocross. I'm surprised he didn't remind me because I would have been.
He asked me if I was going, but I knew I wasn't going.
None. You see, you guys didn't even remind me. But most of it was, if I wasn't doing that, I was actually working on Jason's Corolla. And this segment is not about fixing a Corolla, but it is kind of funny because I ended up. So we're fixing. Jason had a fender bender, and I went to our local junkyard to get some parts. We're doing this on his budget.
Is it called a junkyard anymore, or is it called a
salvage yard? I think it's called a salvage yard. LKQ Salvage Yard in Mount Airy. It's about 30 minutes away, and it's a boneyard. I mean, I used to go there all the time when I was in high school and college.
Very organized.
It's very organized. I mean, it's a grid, all the import cars.
They park better there than they do at the Walmart I go to.
And yeah, if you're looking for OEM parts that are, on cars that are wrecked, I mean, unfortunately, there weren't any Corollas that had just come in. Most of the Corollas had been there for a month or so.
You think they go there to practice stealing catalytic converters? Is that like the training ground?
My.
Those are probably the first thing that they take off of those cars because they can recycle them. But yeah, I mean, just look at the C cars. So there were 6 Corollas there, and all I needed was I knew I was going to find a fender because there wasn't a clean enough one. You can go to their website actually and punch in what kind of car you're looking for, and they'll show you the cars that are there, and they'll show you how they came in. But you want to try to be there as soon as they come in. Otherwise, they'll look like this car here that was fully picked. But the good news is I got the part that I needed. I got an OEM part. And so far, we're into it for $42.
Oh.
And his car's back on the road. So
he's never going to learn a lesson.
No.
Any accident's going to be less than $100. They're repaired.
He sees all the stuff that we're doing. So he was working that day, so I couldn't take him with me, and Jonah's too young to enter a salvage yard, so I went by myself. But it was kind of cool. I like seeing how cars kind of end up, and yeah. So, anyways, that was getting the Rolla back on the road.
Nice.
The other thing that I did, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and I know you put it in here, but it's kind of cool to talk about. Like I do this Cars 101 class with young folks and new drivers. I had a couple older drivers, but wanted to know about their car, and it's something that I've always wondered why maybe they just don't have time to teach it in driver's ed. A lot of parents don't know how to teach it, so here we're checking oil. We found out they brought all their cars, so we were showing them where their spare tire, if it even had a spare tire, where their jack is. We showed them where their jack points, and a lot of these young folks here probably might not even have the strength to like really change a tire, but it's good for them to know where things are and if someone's going to help them to make sure that they don't do it wrong and all that kind of stuff. So they were super interested. It was cool to see these young folks learn about their car, and we talked about the importance of good tires. So here's a picture where I kind of set up our 5 Series BMW. I did some things to it where like I deflated one tire, and this is the importance of walking around your car and noticing things before you go off and drive. I left a backpack in the seat, and I kind of explained to them, don't leave anything that invites thieves. I left, so I cleaned all 3 wheels. I cleaned 3 wheels, and I left 1 wheel with a lot of brake dust. And the reason being is showing them that, notice things that are not normal. And, that could have been like a stuck caliper. So they got, it was like, I tried to gamify it, so to speak. And they were engaged the whole time. And
I really think this is something I would love to see PCA do something similar, and not just for kids, but for adults too.
Well, the two right there on the right, I mean, they're in their early 30s, and they learn just as much.
Are you sure? Because you may have insulted them.
I know.
They look pretty young.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
They are in their early 30s, but they learn just as much as the kids. And the other thing that I went through with them is, what to do in emergencies. When you pull off the road, what happens when you get into an accident. Now, here's the ironic thing, right? Like, so I went through them, all the different steps, what to do in an accident. And Jason has been through this class. This is the second time I've taught this class. But when Jason got into the fender bender, he did, I would say like 75% of what I told him. The one critical thing that he didn't do was he didn't take a photo of the guy that he hit. Like he took all the photos of his car.
That's important.
He exchanged information. So I get it. You know, you're a kid, you get nervous and you don't remember everything. But it just goes to show you, like, you really need to have the discussion with these younger folks, because when something happens, you know, you want them to be prepared. And, you know, my biggest thing is not having someone unscrupulous, you know, take advantage of them where they really cause the accident, but because they see it's a kid, they're gonna, you know, try to twist it around. So yeah, it was that. Actually, several PCA. I posted it on Facebook, and a number of PCA regions were like, "Dude, you know, what program is that?" And I'm like, "It's just stuff that I put together." And so they're asking me for sort of like a syllabus, and maybe some regions would pick this up. Every kid, the parents of these kids were super excited that I offered it, and so yeah, we'll see.
Do you know how to change a tire in your car?
So both my kids do. I know how to call AAA. I mean, I could do it. I had a Volkswagen once, a total blowout, but I couldn't get it off because it has a special tool.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get it off. So I had to call someone. I mean, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So my Suburban, obviously I know how to change the tire, but, and this was when I did one of these, helped move one of these classes a couple of years ago. I pointed out to the kids, I'm like, it's good that you're learning to do this in the daylight, in a road that doesn't have cars coming through it. Most times you get a flat tire. It doesn't happen in perfect ideal situations. It's on the side of the road. It's dark. Cars are zooming by.
Yep.
And if it's the first time you're seeing your spare tire in tools, you're going to be very stressed out. Where if you've seen it before and you're like, oh, yeah, I know which tools to get. Like on my Suburban, I've never taken a spare tire off. And I tried taking it off with them, and I couldn't figure it out. I think I was missing a tool to take it down there because it hangs from the bottom of the truck.
Lower it.
Yeah, and I got to lower it. So it's always been in my head because it's a perfectly full-size spare tire.
Yeah.
But I will not be able to get that off if I get a flat tire, because as much as I tried in my driveway, I think I'm missing parts. And so even though someone you know like us who've done it plenty of times, in the dark,
Yeah.
you know, raining or something like that, it's
right, the pressure,
Yeah.
and you know, my biggest thing with them was to stay safe. Like look, as a car is a car. The biggest thing is stay safe, get off the road, don't put yourself in a precarious situation, and you know, be familiar with the car. Like the one young lady we were talking about, so jumping a car. Like everybody thinks that's so innocent to jump a car. I was like, with older cars, it's not really a big deal if you don't jump it properly. But these newer cars have very sensitive computers, and if you don't do it right, you know, you could actually create more problems.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that. And this one car, it was a hybrid Toyota RAV4, and when you open the hood, there was no battery to see positive or negative, right? So then I'm like, okay, well, there's probably like a positive post. And even me, I like looked, I'm like, I don't see it. It's like, it's not obvious. And so I said, well, where's your owner's manual? She's like, owner's manual? I'm like, yeah, look in the glove box. It was still sealed. And so here's like a perfect way for me to say, okay, well, the answer's in there. And it turned out it was like under a fuse box cover. So you got to pull the fuse box cover. And she may never have to do this, but at least she knows now. And you know how to hook up the positive and the negative, and the order, like we did the order of it, and the importance of why not touch the two cables together, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it's you know, more kids need this because cars are extremely sensitive, and you know, you don't want to do the wrong thing.
I think there's a website, and this happened during COVID maybe, where it was a guy, the website stuff was like stuff your dad didn't teach you. And it's all not just cars, but
life skills,
you know, home stuff that you know, he just does videos on how to, you know, fix the clogged drain, do this, how to shut the water off on a toilet that's overflowing, stuff that if no one's taught you, then
you're at a loss. Yep.
Well, before we go on to the next segment, let me just remind you, if you're enjoying the podcast or if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and comment, give us 5 stars. We certainly would appreciate that. Again, on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so and help us get to 100,000 subscribers. That would make our year. We're just we would love to be able to get that more positive algorithm to get all the content that we're creating out to all Porsche enthusiasts.
I should probably subscribe them.
Yes. Yes, you should. All staff should subscribe. All right. In the Porsche news, we were talking about wings earlier on the GT standard GT3 versus the GT3 Touring. No bigger wing than I think the photo here of the 2023 911 GT3 RS. Now that is a proper. Now that looks like a bi wing, right?
So by the time you're here listening to this, all the information will be out. But as we record this on the Monday before works, it's still speculation. The spy photos, or not spy photos, but the leak photos have come out. But they don't really answer a lot of stuff, whether or not it's going to have active aero, what size engine it's going to have. It's
That's so pretty.
it's a very much anticipated car.
Man, it basically looks like a race car for the street. I mean, it's quite aggressive.
That's
Yeah,
super
it's,
cool.
And of course, people will say, try to get an allocation for it. Good luck. But that's the case with
Yeah, that's the case.
all
with
the
it.
RSs.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're building something like this, and for the longest time, everyone thought the rear wing wasn't going to make it to final production, but it did.
But you think we're kind of tapped out in terms of the horsepower wars? Like it will probably be around the same amount of horsepower, maybe 5-10 more horsepower than the previous model, and they're just working on
That'll be
aero?
a good question, because the Cup car is a little bit larger of an engine than the street car. And Cup cars also have hours on their motors, not miles. So after so many hours, you have to have them refreshened. So we'll see. But the aero changes will be very interesting in this car, and this will.
And this is not, I mean, if you think of the sort of progression that Porsche typically does with the 911, the GT3 RS is not the wildest one. We still have the GT2 RS to possibly look forward to. And that is
And
the
that
wild
there
of
hasn't
wild.
been any. I don't think there's been any spy photos of
Right.
what they're coming out with.
But you know it's gonna
Manual.
overshadow a GT3 RS. It's gonna look wilder. It's gonna be more crazy.
Yeah, and it's Porsche's typical formula of way to release cars, and that may not even happen this year. That may be for next year, maybe for Rennsport.
Yeah.
Something they say, but yeah, I'm glad we're finally going to see this car. And
if we can
see
get
it in
a
Monterey.
preview and get video at Monterey, we're going to do our best to capture it as soon as possible.
Yep.
And we will
Yep.
post it for all of you to see. Sort of on the opposite side of the spectrum, a little bit more sedate, but equally as beautiful, our friend Jay Ward from Pixar, and he and Boris have been working on a 992 with Sally Carrera influences. And that car will be auctioned off at Monterey, or by the time you're listening to this, it will have been auctioned off. And it was pretty interesting to see how they reinterpreted Sally on a 992.
now, so what struck me at first was the wheels.
Yeah,
They
so they're
use like turbo twist, but they're not turbo twist.
Nope.
It's like a
Turbo
new,
Twist inspired.
And are they new wheels, or are they off another model?
I don't think they're off another model. I think those are one-offs.
Damon was showing me another wheel that looked very similar to that with different finish on it. But if that's a brand new wheel for that car, that's pretty impressive.
That'll be a good question.
They did the little touches also, like the Sally Carrera that they built just based on a 996 that's in a museum that's very animated. That actually has the tramp stamp.
Yeah.
The trim stamp.
Yeah, when the
When
wing
the wing
goes
goes
up on the bellows, there's a tattoo, and
And I thought that was a nice touch.
There it
It
is,
right
there
there.
it is.
And
Oh,
they
love it.
included that on the
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
on
the
this
Von.
car
That's
as
like
well.
a Von Dutch
Yes.
tattoo, right, or something like that.
That's amazing.
and the color and
Do you have one?
Do I have a Von
Tramp
Dutch
stamp?
trim?
turn around, Vu, show it to me.
That's for a different podcast.
You
I
know
love
a
the
lot about
interior.
it.
I love the interior. I love the choice of that plaid and the piping. Did we show the photo of you were talking about the Sport Chrono button on the steering wheel, but they did
Yeah,
something very unique on this one. I
I
think.
don't know if this article has it, but it says Cabal.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow. It says ka-chow. Yeah, so
I
this
love the the Pixar car next to it.
Yeah. So it's not the cartoon car. This is meant for someone to buy and drive. But yeah, it's a beautiful color.
It is pretty. I like
Yep.
that
And
color.
it's a rear wheel drive GTS basically. underneath.
So the original Sally Carrera, Pixar had to convince Porsche that it was okay that the 911 was going to be a female.
Oh, all cars are female.
No, they've always looked at the 911 as a male.
Really?
Yeah.
All my
And-
cars have always been female.
And the where have you had a 911?
I mean, I look at the anatomy; they're all
I was
female.
about to say, and you verified that. How?
Yes.
checked under the hood, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we learned it from when we had Jay Ward on Tech Tactics Live. He gave us the background story of the Sally Carrera and how they were going to feminize the car. Which once you saw the movie, you understood why that was important. But at first, Porsche was a little bit taken aback that
It's a female.
yeah, usually their biggest problem is that the villain or the jerk in the film drives a Porsche, not the hero.
Right.
So that wasn't the case in Cars, but it was going to be a female character, and it worked. Obviously, it
Any
became
predictions?
iconic.
Any predictions on how much that car will bring?
Well, it's for charity too.
It's for charity. Yep.
So if it goes over $1 million, I think it's going to be pretty impressive because it's not. It's a exclusive car, but it's not animated or over the top like the original Sally Carrera was, and that was a one-off.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's gonna do under $1 million.
Under $1 million.
I say Price is Right. I'm gonna go for 900.
Well, like we talked about in the last podcast, and we'll talk about it once we get back from Monterey as well. That what does this week prove in the auction world, economy? Does it set records? Do people hold back?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, also Monterey, there's a lot, not a lot of inventory, but there's a lot of things to buy. So when you get past that $1 million mark, there's a lot of cars out there, and that, the Sally car is special. It looks fantastic. I think it would still be phenomenal if that car came in at $1 million.
That'd be cool.
For a 992, right? So.
Yeah, if it's deductible charity, then
Oh yeah.
that goes a long way to helping the
Wouldn't help me though.
price.
Which charity is it? Do you know?
It's probably listed somewhere in the article, but no, I didn't catch the charity. But it'll be we're gonna have it. We're probably gonna see it. Is it going to be at the Zentrum or?
No,
gonna be in Monterey.
it's gonna be at the auction house. I think it's is it RM? I think it's RM that's auctioning it
Okay,
off.
so
Anyways, don't quote me on that, but it's going to be auction. So I'm thinking it's going to stay at the auction house most of the times. Speaking of records, we were talking about record pricing, but let's talk about records at the Nurburgring.
yeah, so the Taycan once again takes back the record from Tesla, the Plaid, in the Nürburgring track time. They beat it by almost 2 seconds, or a little over 2 seconds, which for a course that long seems like a lot, but
So it did the Nurburgring at 7 minutes and 35 seconds, I believe.
or faster than that. But so they used
Was
a
it
car.
faster?
They used a Turbo S, but they used it with a equipment package on it that is only available in Germany. And because they were trying to break this record, I guess the rules are they have to use a roll cage and race seats. So that was a big change they added onto the car. That's not on a stock car, but that's per the regulations.
So if you haven't seen this run, all you can really do it is appreciate the speed and how hard the tires are working. These tires are barking the whole time. I think at some points they hit this. The speed there is shown in kilometers. I think I saw it like 255 at one point.
Wow.
255 kilometers an hour
On the straightaways.
Yeah. And the tires are constantly making noise. I mean, even when it's going sort of like a slight bend, it's just clawing for grip. So, yeah, kudos to the tires for staying together for this.
Don't be surprised if in a few months Tesla comes back and
Oh yeah, they're gonna turn up
They
the
try
wick.
beating him.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to have a lap time war, I think, for a long time.
It's funny. It's
coming.
like this is obviously like bragging rights, right? Like it doesn't matter if you gave this car to a normal driver, like you would never be anywhere close to that. Right? It's just a
No.
marker. It's a bragging point, but it's pretty cool that a fairly heavy electric vehicle is just lightning fast and is capable of turning laps such as that. All right, so that's it for news. Let's talk about events coming up, and I am heading to the airport first thing in tomorrow, heading to Monterey.
I'm heading out Wednesday morning, bright and early, 6:20. Are you on that flight too?
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
so you will be
we all are.
You will be in your seat on the plane, and then Manny will finally be at the gate. Like that's his MO.
Oh my gosh.
Not that bad. I've been in time for boarding.
I've been in my seat, and he's like, "I'm going through security." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Do you have pre-check and clear?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So
The mornings have been brutal at BWI.
No,
yeah.
it's not as bad as he says. The worst it's ever been was our A group was starting to move, and I just slid right in next to him. And I was A group too, but
But what number? Were you
no,
close?
that was with him.
he was with me,
Oh.
but he just slides in there like it's no big deal. I'd be sweating bullets. I'm there. I'm usually there. I'm not as bad as my dad. My dad's like usually 2 hours before boarding time. I'm there at least a half an hour before boarding.
You're
time.
always ahead of me. I'm
I don't
usually
have
about
a-
25 minutes.
I'm not E-list or E-list preferred any of that anymore. So
I just
Yeah.
made it. I
you
just
just
made
made
it.
it?
I'm B-list. I'm lucky.
P-list.
So we're looking forward, obviously, to Works reunion at our new location at Monterey Pines Golf Course, and we have a record number of exhibitors are coming.
Yep.
Everything is pretty much sold out in terms of judge class and corral parking. Plenty of parking for spectators. So, hopefully we'll report back to you and let you know how that went. But one of the things, we've got a number of things that we're announcing. We're announcing that obviously our title sponsor, Michelin, has tires and great giveaways, and they'll have a huge presence there. Porsche will be there with at least almost 24 classic
22.
22
22.
of the
22 restoration cars?
Restoration
Yep,
cars.
22.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's insane.
Wow.
Michelin has a vintage tire display too.
That's more than
Yep.
they had at Sports Car Together Fest.
Yep.
Wow, that's very good.
And it'll be
Thanks,
more.
yeah.
It'll be more than what they have at Sports Car Together Fest this year too, in terms of like cars in the competition. So we're super excited about that. We have cars from Tech Art. We'll have an RWB coming.
HRE has cars.
Yeah,
Cayman
tons.
Islands.
So this will be Melanie's first Monterey.
First Monterey. Yep.
But
Second
to,
Works.
to her credit, she came in and really, you weren't coming from a car club before. And so coming in and having the understanding all our terms and what when we
But
say
she's
certain
familiar
things.
with the car world, though.
Yes, very
so your
familiar with
family,
the car
your
world.
family is very much into cars, and I
But
think
you
you're-
weren't planning car events.
No, but we went to a lot of them. My husband and I. My son restores old Fords.
Well, I go to a lot
so-
of baseball games. It doesn't mean I can play baseball.
This is true. This is true.
What I'm
But-
getting at is, though, you picked up very quickly on what our needs are, what our members' needs are, which can
Yep.
be very peculiar when it comes to Porsche stuff. But yeah, you did a phenomenal job at Amelia Island. So and then you would think Works Monterey is the same thing, but it has its own set of challenges.
Yes.
well, and the fact that we're going to a brand
Brand
new
new.
location.
Yep, brand new location. But I mean, I was a Volkswagen girl, so I would go to Bug Out. So I understood Works. I mean, it's a little bit different, it's elevated than Bug Out, but understood it.
Yeah. So we also will be announcing. I think we're sending an email out today, talking about Princess Cruise Lines, one
Yep.
of our major sponsors for the club in its entirety. But they'll be giving away a cruise for two to folks that are attending Works, and then they're also going to have, I believe, a Princess Cruise, like their choice. They're going
Yep.
to pick their favorite car and send the owners of that car on a cruise line. So that's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of cool swag and gifts and
Yeah.
that we'll be giving away. As far as announcements, we've been talking about UnStock and saving your date for November 13th to be there. But by the time you listen to this, we can now share with you where it will
Yes.
be. We told you it's going to be in Burbank, California, and it'll be together with our friends at West Coast Customs.
Very excited. Very excited. They're excited. We did the site visit, last month?
Mm-hmm.
So many great ideas. That the layout's great. The flow would be great.
The great thing is this started all from, we went to SEMA, and it was the end of the day, and one of the days, and we are kind of like slowly, tiredly walking back to where the car was parked, and At a corner by, we see this white Carrera.
Like a moth to a flame.
Yes.
We're like, let's detour a
go
little
see
bit.
that.
And let's take a look at his car real quick. And I guess it shows that we never get tired of looking at Porsches, even though we do it all day. And so we walked up and we see this car on a turntable, and it's a tribute car to the 73 RS. But the more we looked at it, the more we said, boy, this was really well done. It wasn't over the top. And then Vu recognized some of the guys from West Coast
Yeah, I saw.
Customs.
So for those of you that are listening and are familiar with the name West Coast Customs, or you may not have been, so back in the day, they used to do a show with MTV called Pimp My Ride. And, that launched their brand, but that also kind of made it difficult for them to separate what they were doing for MTV versus what they normally do, which is build, high-end projects and crazy custom builds. And so they built this this RSR tribute. Lorenzo Strong was a project manager, and we went through the car with him, and he says, this is actually what we do today. This is the more of the norm of what we do, and we don't typically do the things like we used to do for Pimp My Ride. And I've known that because I follow them, and I see some of they had their Boxster 356 build. I think that was for Justin Bieber or Justin Bieber's manager that they brought to Works Reunion. Not Works Reunion. Yeah, they brought to Works Reunion in Monterey. I've seen they built some cars for non-Porsches for a lot of celebrities, and they do some really creative stuff, and it's all under one roof. And so the setup is we are going to be in Burbank at their headquarters. How in the world are we going to park 125, 150 modified Porsches? Well, we're going to actually shut down the road.
Shut it down.
Now, if you know West Coast Customs, they definitely know how to throw a party. And when we went there on the site visit, every question we asked, like, how will this be done? Where will this be? They're like, oh, food trucks go here.
Tables
Road barriers here. Tables here. We can do instead of a red carpet because their colors are blue, we're going to have a blue carpet.
Which works for us very well.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to give tours of the facility. They have like this catwalk above their production area where you can see where paint is done, where metal fab, where vinyl wrap is done, where woodworking is done. You can see their current projects.
Mm-hmm.
They were taking a 2022 chassis of a Lincoln. I think it was a Navigator, or no, it was a Cadillac Escalade, and they were putting like a 60s Suburban body over top of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they were doing all crazy, and then there's some videos there, and they had some Porsches there. They've been doing stuff with AMG, but they also have like this really cool attitude towards everything. Like everything is considered. They want to do it right. They want to fix things that people have done wrong, and they're not afraid to push the boundaries. And I think that sort of embodies the spirit of what UnStock is about. We're not there to judge what you've done to the car. We're just happy that you have a passion for making the car unique, doing something that you enjoy. Doesn't matter what other people think. And so, I think it should go over very well.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And they are actually going to bring that RSR tribute car. Not only bring it, I believe Lorenzo's driving it from Burbank.
They are driving it from Burbank.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
Two Works Reunion?
Yeah.
Two Works Reunion.
Yeah, like they want to show like what we build is what you can actually use, and we'll drive the car to Works Reunion. They are bringing some friends with some other equally cool cars, and they even made some cool T-shirts to kind of ring in the announcement. And we're super excited.
The upholstery on that car is so cool because they made it out of flannel shirts.
Yeah.
I love it. They have a great kids program too when we were there.
Yeah, so part of UnStock, they will either make tours or make swag that'll go to Ryan. The owner of West Coast Customs created almost like a little kids university.
Yep.
Getting underprivileged kids into the trade, showing them body work and all the things that they could possibly get into. When we were there was actually a kid that was there for a week, and Ryan had shared and said the kid went home and I guess begged and pleaded and somehow found a welder. Bought a welder so that he could practice at home, so that he could do well in the class. I'm thinking that's what we need. There's, how many of us go to shops today and they tell you they don't have enough people working, or like I see my kids and I don't know a single kid out of all 3 of my kids and all of their friends that are getting into this trade, and that's scary because we're going to need help, right?
That's what they were saying. It's a dying trade, and they need people, and they help with job placement after they teach them stuff. But it's, it can also be very lucrative.
Yes, absolutely. I think
Go ahead. My cousin's son is actually leaving tomorrow to go to Kansas, and I didn't notice, but they have a 4-year college there that specializes in automotive restoration degree.
4 years.
4-year, and this is
Wow.
McPherson College in Kansas, and they teach you all about, and you can see the Mercedes, and it's high-end.
Here, think about this. Not all of, but a lot of our PCA members with big collections, significant collections that you wouldn't realize, but a lot of them are in trades, right?
Mm-hmm.
HVAC, plumbing, electric, welding supplies. Man, if you have the ability to do this, you should definitely look into it. And I hate that. I don't want to say hate. Maybe hate's a strong word, but I think our society just assumes kids should just be connected to a computer and go to a 4-year college, and that is the only path. And certainly that is not the case.
No, my son walked away from a huge scholarship because my dad told him there's nothing wrong with blue-collar work.
Oh, yeah.
And, my husband, out of the Marine Corps, he's worked for BG&E, and it's, you can make as much as a doctor. It's just, people look at it a little bit differently sometimes, but it's needed. We need all of those positions.
And you could be a business owner, right?
Yep.
A business owner and sort of set your destiny. So anyways, didn't mean to get into the whole education system, but back to UnStock. We're looking forward to it, and they're going to be there. You know what? Also, we can announce this now because it's going to be after UnStock. Where the Huni Pegasus is going to be at Works Reunion.
I could not figure out how to say that, so I'm glad you just did.
It's not Huni.
It's not Huni?
I don't think so. I think it's Huna.
Huna Pegasus. The Hoonigan Pegasus.
What language
Pikes
is it?
Peak Hill Climb car will be at work.
Doesn't flow off as smoothly as they made. Maybe they thought it would.
Yeah. It's I saw that car in Colorado, but it wasn't running. I don't think it will be running at Works either, but it'll be cool to see the car in person because it is. Talk about UnStock. That car is the poster child of UnStock.
Did you say UnStock or Works?
It's going to be at Works for sure, and I've asked them to bring it to UnStock as well.
Yeah, a lot of people saw pictures of that, but I don't think many people saw it in person.
It's crazy, yeah.
And that'll be a treat. There's a lot of cool cars.
There's so many.
Another cool car this week that we'll have access to. Again, we can say it now because you guys won't hear it till afterwards, but we are going to get a first-hand walk around, sort of the next iteration of the Gunther Works 993, but it's 993 Turbo.
So that's their version of the Singer Turbo.
Mm-hmm. So they've stopped production. The standard 993 Gunther Works is kind of at the end of its run. The Speedster version of the car, I think that's almost to the end of its run. So the next iteration will be this monster Turbo 993. And I saw some of the aero work that they were working on after the site visit. Melanie, you didn't come with us.
No.
But we stopped by and said hi to our friends there, and the car looks very, very aggressive. Very cool. They make some crazy. I'm looking at the poster that we created last year at the UnStock event of the exoskeleton, the clear carbon fiber car. But this new Turbo, it's going to be even more.
It's funny because people shake their head and when they heard the price of the Speedster and they're like, "Who in the world's going to buy that? That's how much money?" And then you find out they're all sold out.
They're all sold out.
Yeah.
Someone's
buying them.
If you have to ask the question, that car's not for you.
Yeah.
These cars, just like all the other limited edition cars that Porsche comes out, by the time the normal person hears about it, they've all been allocated.
That's the great thing about Monterey Week and events like UnStock. You get to see these cars because these aren't normal cars and coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, recent videos and such. Over this weekend, we released the Boxster GTS 1 mile review. That was a 4-liter car?
Yes, and I appreciate everyone looking at it prior, because no one picked up that I messed up in the first 3 seconds.
What do you mean?
You didn't hear?
No.
Oh, we'll see. You're finding out today. You didn't hear that at the beginning. I go, today I have the keys to a 2015 Cayman S.
You said Cayman S?
Yes.
No, you
Nice.
didn't.
Yes.
Did you watch it?
Evidently he said he did, but
I watched it, but I didn't pick up on that. Really?
that's why it comes across. It says Boxster S on it behind me.
Boxster G.
There, you see
GTS.
right there. That's where.
nice. I love that ad.
Is it because you drove a Cayman before you did this?
We did like 2 or 3 Caymans that day
Okay.
at different years.
Yeah.
And I guess in my head, I was just thinking we must have just got done with the Cayman.
Yeah.
And then switching over, even though I think Damon drove the Caymans.
Yeah.
And either we were talking to the owner about the car, whatever, it was in my head. And we didn't pick it up until we were looking at, we thought the final time.
Uh-huh.
We're at the McDonald's eating dinner. And
Well, sometimes because you
Eating dinner.
listen to and you read kind of what you expect. right?
PCA, we got to save money. So McDonald's is the
No
most.
chicken and waffles that
is
day.
the most we can spend.
Yeah.
So anyways, I caught it. I'm like, I just heard myself say Cayman.
Oh my gosh, I totally
David
missed
went
that.
into sheer panic.
Oh, no.
He's like, "Oh, I know you said Boxster and the thing. We'll just take the voice thing and dub it in." I'm like, "That is too." I say, just put on their Boxster, and then I'll take the wrath of the public if they give me a
Well,
hard time.
here's the thing. I think that's a great segue into why we're doing 1 mile reviews. Because people are saying, well, why don't you drive it more than a mile and do like a full-on review? Yes, we could do that, but the reason why we're doing these 1 mile reviews is just it's sort of another piece to our portfolio. These 1 mile reviews, each car literally takes us maybe 2 hours to do. And it's fun content. We're not trying to make it like our standard ones. Like to do a full, like if you look at the Cayenne GTS Comparo video, like that was like an all day, shoot for us, and you got to go to different places, and then the editing is much more involved. These 1 mile reviews are almost one take. There's a couple things where you blend in for the sound and stuff like that, but it's quick to shoot, get you some quick shots of information, and it's quick to edit, and then we can turn it around and send it to the world 2 week turnaround. Sometimes we could do it in a week if we had to, but it's just please don't take it as we're only going to do this from now on. It's just another thing that we do, and it's fun. Because I saw some of the comments on YouTube. People were like, oh, why don't you take the proper time and drive them 10 miles? We do drive it more than a mile.
Right.
There's no way we can only do a single mile. But we only do maybe 10 miles at most. But the whole idea is it's a quick production and give you some fun content. But we will certainly, some cars where I think the Cayenne GT, I know I recorded a full video on that, but that was a while ago, and it takes a while to edit.
Yeah.
But we will still do those. And for new cars or cars that are certainly worthy of it, long form, we will continue to do that. It's just this is another thing to add to the mix. That way you get at least 2 videos a week from PCA, which I don't think that there are many outlets out there that are doing what we're doing.
Yeah, we were on a Friday night looking at the final version of what we thought was the final version of the Boxster GTS video, and it was going to come out the next morning, and that's how sometimes tight the deadlines are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, we do most of this in house, so that's why we try to do it on the inexpensive side if we can. We do
Yep.
spend money on the Donald Osborne one, and we have what we call pro videos, but we have to do a mix so that we can.
It's funny.
continue to
Doug DeMora has a video that came out today, I think, and it's about what's it like recording YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about his process and how he says when he sets up, he tries to find a place that's away where no one can see him. Usually, she said Mormon churches.
No,
Really?
They're nicest people. They come out, and give them some water. They don't care. He said other churches have kicked him out, said you can't be on
oh,
here.
really?
And he said all he's doing is setting up a tripod. It's a static interview. He's not doing the driving part on the.
Right.
He's just parking it if you watch any of his videos, you understand how he does the videos by himself. But it was interesting hearing how he said, even for him who's done so many videos, that it takes a lot of concentration because you're trying to remember
It's a lot.
what
to
you're
remember.
saying about the car horsepower figures, options and whatnot. As you don't have a script. You're looking at the camera, and what's really hard is when you're trying to drive and speak and talk about the car.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
The more the car surprises you, at least for me, the harder it is to be quick and think of something because you're processing like, wait a minute, I didn't expect the car to be like this. This is
Right, and
a
you
lot
want to
different.
go yeehaw, and you forget to tell the people the important facts.
Or like in my case, we did one of the takes, and we had been jumping back and forth between a touring and a regular GT3. Like I said before, I was in the GT3 thinking I was in a touring, until about 2 miles down the road, I glanced in my mirror and I saw the wing, and I was like, "Oh,
wrong
crap.
car."
Now I got to go turn around." I've been talking like I was driving a touring model when I was driving the regular GT3.
Gives you those first impressions too, which is nice to see.
Yes.
What do you see first when you get into this car?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to say we won't evolve. We
Yeah.
evolved it a lot from the beginning as well.
So pretty.
So this is where I'm quite jealous of Mr. Donald Osborne, who is so eloquent. His drive, the recent video 911R versus 992 GT3, he is such a wealth of knowledge, and he can talk and talk and talk and talk. And he's driven those cars before, so it wasn't really his first impression. But yeah, I certainly strive to hopefully be able to share as much information as he did. Now he's a little bit more. He didn't go into as much technical. I think some of our members crave more technical information, but he was talking about the feel and the drive, and he certainly is got the experience, time behind the wheel of all these cars, and he drives some crazy cars, not just Porsche models. So he has some seat time that he can do some real world, share his experience, and I lack a lot of that. I drive Porsches, but I haven't driven many supercars, so.
Yeah, but I was trying to explain the firmness of the GT3, like at the normal setting, what it felt like, and the best description I think people who've driven a Carrera, regular Carrera S, on the sport setting, that's what the normal is on a GT3. So it's not a rough ride, but it's not as comfortable as a regular Carrera S on the normal setting. So at least you get some kind of idea of what it, because what's firm when somebody says it has a firm ride?
Right.
We just went pillow shopping.
Yeah.
And you want to find out the difference between firm
we
and
need
pillows?
to go pillow
I
shopping.
can only imagine Manny pillow shopping with Roxanne. Try this one. Okay.
She said, put your head sideways on it. So I'm trying to
In the store?
replicate in the store. But I had a plastic
On the
covering.
bed? On the bed?
Yes, I went over to the bedding section.
Oh man.
Told them to turn down the lights. But I thought, how do you describe a firm pillow? My idea of firm and somebody else's are two different things.
Right.
Right.
So it's the same thing with cars. When you say it's a firm ride, that can mean a lot, and unfortunately, that's difficult to.
Right.
really
What's
get across
what's your
on
reference
reviews.
point? Your reference point is very different from my reference point.
Right.
I used to drive my race car on the street. That was firm to me.
Yeah.
When I would bounce and I could feel my fillings about to come out, that was firm. Some other people think a 911 by itself is firm.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab your VIN, sign on to PCA.org, become a member for $46. If you don't own a Porsche, but you would love to get all sorts of information to make the right choice, join our test drive program. And of course, remember to follow us on the podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And if you want to reach out to us, have a question, go ahead and email us at podcast@pca.org. And again, I remind you to please like, subscribe, and comment on your podcast platforms. We would appreciate that. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.